Hi, and welcome to this live reading from the last Danaan, Titanian Chronicles, Book 3 by Victoria Saccenti, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Southern Egypt, Thebes, 1000 BC. The reed skiff reached the makeshift dock on the eastern shore of the Nile, a spot centered between the edge of Karnak and the obelisks at the gate of the Luxor Temple, the sanctuary of the south. The fisherman planted his heavy foot on the wooden platform, steadying his vessel. "You must hurry, stranger. The storm is upon us." Warily, the fisherman glanced over his shoulder. A massive wall of dust and sand had already blotted out the sun. Now it raced from the west, a ravenous monster poised to ingest Amenhotep III's temple, the mighty Karnak complex, and every powerless victim in its path. Holding an edge of his robe's hood over his nose and mouth, Kalen rushed along the avenue of sphinxes in mid-construction, heading southeast past the commoner's village. His goal was a solitary mud hut belonging to Knurn, the most powerful wizard on the planet. Decades ago, Knurn's hut had been part of the village, but as word of his amazing miracle spread among the population, Pharaoh and his court magicians feared his divine authority might suffer. An unusual situation developed. Pharaoh's godlike power had to remain unquestioned, and casting out the sorcerer could prove dangerous to all. As a result, magical consultations were banned, and the village was moved a few huts at a time. When the shift was accomplished, Knurn's abode stood all by itself. Rule breakers were easily spotted and castigated by the authorities. However, people in need of powerful magic weren't so easily repressed. The desperate, willing to risk life and limb, found ways to sneak in, either in the dead of night or at odd hours. No punishment was too harsh if the impossible was achieved. The return to health of a dying child, the spark of love in a cold, distant heart, acquired wealth, and rise in status. Kalen reached the door's hide flap just as the outline of his hand disappeared within the rolling sand. Murmuring the enchantment's password given to him ages ago, he went through, the blustering, blinding winds remaining outside. "Peace be with you," Kalen bowed. "And to you, Danaan Lord." Knurn returned the greeting from his cushion next to the hearth. "You may shake the dust at the entry. Sabah will clean the mat after the storm passes. Leave the robe on the post and the shoes below. Come, join me by the fire." The wizard showed no surprise in his voice. He must have seen Kalen's arrival in one of his many scrying sessions. "Rest your weary body." Kalen sat on the luxurious, multicolored silk brocade pillow Knurn had propped up for him. The opulent fabric belied the humble outward appearance of the hut. Despite the apprehension a meeting with the great wizard elicited, he addressed the purpose of his journey to Thebes. "I beg your indulgence, master." Knurn raised a silencing finger. Kalen pressed his lips into a line. "Supper before a consultation." The mage dipped a cast iron ladle into the cauldron, stirred a few times, releasing the reassuring aroma of some kind of spicy stew, and brought it up to his nose. Ignoring the rising vapor, he tasted the liquid, then smacked his lips with an uninhibited enjoyment. Delicious. Sabah has outdone herself." The slim, dark-haired woman passed Kalen a ceramic bowl and wooden spoon, an identical set to the wizard. With a soft rustle of her cotton skirts, she faded within the shadows behind the hanging tapestries. A bewildering possibility, considering the hut had no corners or separate rooms he could discern. He remembered where he was and tossed the question aside. Mysteries were normal in Knurn's home. "Give me your bowl, Danaan." As the mage extended his hand and leaned closer to the simmering cauldron, the lines on his weathered face took on a reddish hue. A deep scar that cut straight down from his permanently arched eyebrow to his cropped beard shifted. His gold and diamond ankh pendant, a gift from primordial god Adam, swung out of his robe. Swiftly, he tucked it back inside. Rarely did he allow anyone a glimpse of the fabled piece. Knurn was a study in contrasts, grave, ageless, and mischievous. His piercing golden eyes danced with an amused light, as if he were privy to a humorous tale or knew a joke most creatures didn't. Rumors about his age and origins abounded. The oldest tribal leaders swore the mage was an unintended product of Hades' magic. Others argued Kronos created the sorcerer when he returned from exile to exact his revenge against Zeus. As guesses and rumors spread, so did his mystique. One fact was certain. Unassuming and private, Canern wielded the all-encompassing magic of the universe on Earth. "Smells good," Kalen blew on the steaming liquid. "Cooked with your requirements in mind, Danaan. Strictly vegetables. Eat. You've been on the road a while." Yes, he was tired and starved. Turning his attention to the stew, he cleaned his bowl. Canern laughed. "More?" "Please." Kalen presented his bowl. The mage promptly filled it, and both fell silent again. He ate the second helping as quickly as the first, his body appreciative of the nourishment. Kalen dropped his spoon in the empty bowl, and the enigmatic Seba emerged once more from the shadows. Moving swiftly, she whisked his bowl away and reached out for Canern's. As she did, he grasped her wrist. His smile brightened his features. "Thank you, mistress." As Seba bowed, a beauty spot above the left corner of her full lips came into view. She stacked the dishes and returned to the shadows. Renewed curiosity gnawed at Kalen. He squashed it before an impertinent question ruined this crucial meeting. His people stood at the brink of extinction. "How may I help you?" Folding his hands, Canern reclined on an elbow on his cushion. His demeanor remained as calm and as easy as when Kalen had arrived. A frisson of despair coursed over him. The sudden certainty that the fate of his race had already been decided struck his soul with panic. He hesitated. Would a few extra moments of ignorance keep the illusion of hope alive? He exhaled, seeking a fortitude he didn't feel, and voiced his question. "Have you seen our pathmaster? Is there hope for us, or are we doomed to fade?" Canern stared at an indistinct spot, worrying with the tips of his fingers the edge of his beard. "The High Kings have been tricked. The Tuatha De Danaan's time on Earth has ended. Now it is time for the Ternanog, the eternal land of youth, awaits. Is this the universe's final ruling?" "It is, Kalen. Take heart. Your people won't be forgotten." "Could we not strike a bargain with the invaders?" Canern released his beard. His movements were slow and precise as he stoked the coals in the hearth. A red gleam illuminated the room, and long dark shapes danced on the tapestries. In haste, a poor bargain was struck. "Gods!" Kalen exclaimed. "I have traveled long miles to seek your counsel. My lords swore they would wait for my return. The Milesians have outwitted your leaders. As conquerors and winners, they've opted to rule the land above ground. Your kind must accept defeat and travel to the great beyond. One of your last duties with the Tuatha De Danaan is to assist Manannan, god of the sea. He will guide your people in their journey through the Sid Mountains." "But that sentence means oblivion." "Not quite. The Tuatha De Danaan are talented and beautiful, and humanity worships both. Myth and legend will repeat their stories, albeit with some confusion and contradictions." He laughed softly. "Future human generations will call the Tuatha Sid and Fae. Paintings will be made, books written in their honor. Now, heed my words." Canern frowned, and his voice dropped an octave. "Under no circumstances will the Sword of Light travel underground or be lost in the land of eternal youth. You must retain the Clome Soleil to serve on this plane." "Alas, the sword is one of our most prized possessions." Kalen pressed a hand against his chest. His heart ached for this race. "How did we offend the universe? Must we be shamed in every way? Stripped of everything we love?" "No shame, never shame." Canern narrowed his eyes. "This sacrifice is required for the sake of eternal life and order in the cosmos. Your people may keep the cauldron, stone, and spear. However, the sword is needed on Earth." He punched his cushion. "Remember, Kalen, you will be its keeper until such time when you join the Titanians. You will teach Lord Trolls, leader of the great race, how to duplicate the weapon for others to use." "Forgive me, Master. I'm at a loss." Canern crossed one ankle over the other, pulled a second cushion behind his waist, and leaned back. So many things I can do except ever get truly comfortable. I need your help, Seba. The lady emerged out of the dark, a large cushion in hand. Evidently, she was an even greater sorceress, as she anticipated Kanurn's needs before he spoke. She shuffled behind him. As he leaned slightly forward, she slipped the pillow where he indicated. Ah, much better, my angel of mercy. By the time Kanurn smiled, she'd already walked away. Turning a little on his side, Kanurn propped his head on the heel of his hand. As I was saying, the universe demands your obedience, Kaelin. Your compliance guarantees the eternal peace of your race in Tir Nanog. It's not fair to you, and the road will be long and solitary. But mark my words, in the end, you will be rewarded. Kaelin attempted to smile. He was certain an ugly grimace emerged instead. While he tried to order the insanity in his mind and allow resignation to settle in, Kanurn's voice droned on. Kaelin blinked to catch up with the mage's instructions. This is the order of events. You will assist Danaan. Once the last Danaan has passed, you'll take the sword to the Sealy court. Oberon is expecting you. A word of advice. The fairies are stunningly beautiful, charming, and tricky. Many will tempt you. Don't form attachments during your time at the court. If you do, your heart will break. Your future lies further ahead in time, not with the fairies. Kaelin's sense of doom increased by the minute. Why me? I'm not a great leader. There are others worthier and more illustrious. Why can't I go away, diminished with my people? Kanurn sighed. You are a male of valor and integrity, and the universe has set its eyes on you. A deadly struggle is coming. The future of all magical and non-magical creatures will hang in the balance. You'll rally allies to the battlefield and win the war. The Titanians exert godlike powers but are few in numbers. They'll need your help. Kaelin huffed. Titanians, the Sealy court. Do you realize how crazy all this sounds? I'm Tuatha Dé. I know nothing about Titanians or the Fae. You're a disciplined warrior, though. Kanurn's eyes crinkled. Members of the Unseelie court are creating trouble. Oberon wants to stamp that out. Send everyone back to their rightful place. And the Titanians? That's an entirely different matter, Kanurn set up. What have you heard about the demon race? Kaelin tilted his head. A rumor reached us in Isfail. It said Hades made them. An insane creation, pure abomination, that's my opinion. In his quest for universal supremacy, Hades lost control of his magic, and the rest of us have to deal with the consequences. Demons are currently subdued, existing in their separate dimension. I have foreseen a deadly uprising, a clash between the demon armies and the Titanian allied forces. Why? The scar on Kanurn's face shifted as he sneered. Power, a permanent return to the earthly plane and control, but a personal reason will arise. Astaroth, their leader, will catch a glimpse of Edelitis, Lord Fridolf's mate, and desire her for himself. The demon lord won't stop until he gets her. Perspiration dotted Kaelin's face. He ran his fingers over his forehead. You speak about the future so easily. It's well known the future is elusive, tentative at best. The outcome has been revealed to me. Kanurn's voice lowered and turned distant. Calamitous events, famine, pestilence, and bitter colder temperatures will push humanity from the Middle Ages to a new era of enlightenment. Titanians will be too busy protecting and guiding humanity through disaster and growth. The demon race will seize their distraction to initiate hostilities, several skirmishes at first. The final uprising will coincide with the creation of the printing press in Europe. You'll have joined Trolls and his son by that time. The decisive battle will take place high in the Caucasus. Time meant nothing to Kanurn. He saw and discussed eras as if he'd already lived them. Master, this is beyond my comprehension. I'm still adapting to my people's fate, let alone I gave you a list of duties to complete. Kanurn waved a dismissive hand. For now, concentrate on the first step. And while you serve Oberon, I'd say about 900 years will handle his problem, you'll meet every magical species in the world and form unbreakable bonds. Your name will be spoken with admiration. 900 years? Kaelin muttered. That is but a tiny speck in the continuum of time in the endless cosmos. Don't fret, Oberon is a mischievous and fun-loving king. He'll keep you entertained, and before you know it, you'll be moving on to your next assignment. Kalen's mind reeled with the immensity of Kanurn's timeline. When? One word was all he could muster. I will send word. An enigmatic smile appeared. The wizard returned to stoking his coals, leaving Kalen floating in a cloud of unanswerable questions. One thing was certain. He'd been separated from his people forever. The life he'd expected to experience since birth had been displaced, lost to him. He stared at his new road with sad awareness. He'd never take anything for granted again.